Okay, good morning, everyone. I wanted to discuss today to really give a perspective on how different cities, had different great chachamim that people weren't so aware of. And when we learn about these chachamim, we really get a perspective about the greatness in Torah that there was in the countries where we came from, and particularly this time I'm going to speak about the city of Marrakesh, the great city of Marrakesh, Ir Torah, that had many great chachamim. There was two chachamim in particular, one called Rabbi Avraham Azulai, and another called Rabbi Shlomo Amar, that were very good friends. Now, when you usually hear of the name Rabbi Avraham Azulai, you think of the Chesed Avraham, the great-grandfather of the Chida, but he's actually buried in the city of Hebron. He was one of the great Mekubalim of all times, and he is family with this Rabbi Avraham Azulai. How exactly, it's not clear. Some say he was born around the year 1660, just to give you a perspective. And he iftar we'll see in the 17 something. We'll see, but this is the era, 1660, and there was a no. That was much earlier. This is in 1660. Well, to give a perspective, the Rizal was in the early 1500s, and then there was great Mekubalim. In the 1600s in Morocco, there was a certain chevra called the chevra that wrote one of the most important books on the Sefer HaZohar called the Mikdash Melech. That was really compiled by Rabbi Shalom Buzaglo. And one of the authors, there's Rabbi Yaakov Gedalia, there's somebody called Rav Pinto, there's Rav Avram Ben Musa was one of the authors, and Rabbi Avraham Azulai was also one of the big authors of the end of this Mikdash Melech. Now, they were students of a Rav called Rabbi Yitzchak Deluya. Rabbi Yitzchak Deluya, a great chacham. There's a reputable story that the Bet Yosef himself came to the city of Marrakesh, and he had it out with Rabbi Yitzchak Deluya. This is the tradition that there is, and they fought on three things. One is on the kashrut of meat of Bet Yosef or not, glat or Bet Yosef. Number two is doing kaddish on the Sefer Torah of Shabbat of Mincha. We don't do kaddish after the Sefer Torah of Shabbat of Mincha. And Rabbi Yitzchak Deluya held yes, and in his Bet Knesset, till very recently, that's what they did. And the Bet Yosef said not that way, which is what we do. And there was a third thing that escapes me right now, but that was Rabbi Yitzchak Deluya, and he had students. He has these two students, Rabbi Avraham Amar and Rabbi Avraham Azulai and Rabbi Shlomo Amar. Now, let's start with Rabbi Avraham Azulai, who, according to a sefer, a source of the Chida, the Chida himself writes in Shem HaGedolim Ot Aleph that he heard that he was a relative to his great grandfather, the Rabbi Avraham Azulai. He doesn't know how. Some say that the sister of Rabbi Avraham Azulai from Marrakesh was the sister of Rabbi Avraham Azulai. So it's literally he was Azulai related to Rabbi Avraham Azulai the Chesed Avram from his mother's side, not from his father's side. Either way, they did have some type of connection, whether it's from the mother's side or from the father's side. But over here, the Chida debunks a myth. People would say that Azulai means Isha Zona v'chalala lo yikachu. That in the family there was maybe somebody that took a kohen that took a chalala or a girusha, married a chalala or girusha, which was not supposed to. That's where the name came from, and he says he was so strong that that's not true. He said, and the Rabbi Avraham Azulai that we're talking about over here made a cherem, he made an excommunication of anybody who says that. Okay, so anybody who says that type of lashon hara or that is name Azulai, out. Your mother's an Azulai, right? There's a lot of people. Also, your wife is an Azulai, right? So says this is not true. What?
They should do the same thing over here.
Yeah, they should do the same thing. They should make. You're gonna see very soon the type of cherems they made in Marrakesh. It wasn't very pleasant. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Avraham Azulai. It's unbelievable. Their greatness in Torah. He had a chavruta together with Rabbi Shlomo Amar. And every single week, they would go over on Friday what they learned. Rabbi Amar would tell Azulai would tell Rabbi Shlomo Amar what he learned in Gemara and Poskim, what he was mechadesh. Shlomo Amar would tell him what he was mechadesh in Kabbalah. So one time it happened that this is the Chida who brings this down. Okay, in Sefer Achida, Sefer Ma'asiyot, and I'm getting this from the introduction of a Sefer on the Kitvei Rabbi Avraham Azulai, written by Yosef Peretz from Panama. And he writes the following, that in the year Tav Tzadichet, I think that's 1941, Rabbi Shlomo Amar was niftar. And after 5 or 6 months, he came to a dream to Rabbi Avraham Azulai, and he told him that he asked Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai what was pshat in the Zohar HaKadosh that they had difficulty in understanding. What was pshat? And Rabbi Shlomo, was it like him, like Rabbi Shlomo Amar, or like his friend Rabbi Avraham Azulai? And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai told him that the truth, the true perush is like Rabbi Avraham Azulai. And the questions that you had, Rabbi Shlomo Amar, you can answer it. He says, I said originally like Rabbi Avraham Azulai. That was the kavanah that I had. It wasn't like you. In other words, so they went that. That's a good thing that after you lo alin, if somebody's niftari, he could go to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and ask him what's pshat in the Zohar. The only trick is you have to learn the Zohar and really know what you're doing. So that's a little caveat. But that's a story that's brought down in the Chida. Now the Chida also brings down that the Chida also brings down that he heard from his friend, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Reb Chaim ben Atar, that this Avraham Azulai was a Kadosh, that he would write Kameot, but all that was written in his Kameot was Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha Hashem Shetirapeh Refuah Shlema Laisha Zo. In other words, there was nothing in a fancy Shemot HaKodesh. He didn't use Shemot HaKodesh. He wasn't Mashbiah Malachim. He simply, with his handwriting, he asked Hashem to give Refuah Shlema, and that's how and that's how people were healed. That's how people were healed. It's a little bit of a crazy story that happened. This is brought down in the Sefer Malchi Rabbanan of Rabbi Yosef ben Naim, that one time they were going through a certain alleyway. Imagine this in the late 1600s, going through an alleyway in the city of Marrakesh, and they get to a sewer, and they like bump over the sewer, and there was goyim over there. They were bumping over the sewer. It smelled really, really bad. So the goyim took off the cover, and then they saw that there was people, goyim, that were killed and buried over there. So right away, they needed a scapegoat. Who are they going to go for the scapegoat? They caught these chachamim, Rabbi Avraham Azulai, Rabbi Shlomo Amar, together with Rabbi Yushaya Shoshana, and Rabbi Shlomo Levi, Rabbi Shlomo Busta. So there's 5 actually. So these 5 chachamim, they caught them and they said, that's it, you guys did it, and they made some type of story, and they said, we're going to bring you to the kingdom that there was in Fez at the time for your judgment. So they started going on the way to Fez. They stopped off the city of Saleh. If you're going to go from Marrakesh, you're going to go to Saleh, to the city of Fez. When they got to Saleh, so the people of the city of Saleh had connections with the government, begged them, leave them alone. So one of the people who had connections over there was Rabbi Moshe ben Atar, who was the father of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim ben Atar. And he said, leave him alone. Leave them alone. Leave them at least for Shabbat, that they should spend Shabbat by me. I guarantee you that I'll give them back. Yeah, that's what he told the guards, that they were on their way. We hear a lot of Hasidic stories like this. So this is a story that happened in Marrakesh. So they got to the house of Rabbi Moshe ben Atar, and they served Shabbat. They served them. They brought them a plate of meat. They didn't want to touch the plate of meat. Rabbi Avraham Azulai starts seeing the meat. He sees a bunch of bugs in the meat. He said, I'm not touching this meat. So Rabbi Moshe ben Atar said, the father of the Rochai Makadesh, what's wrong? They said, we can't touch it. They found out, they spoke afterwards, that the Rochai Makadesh's wife saw that the meat was burnt. The original meat that they bought was burnt. So she sent out her maidservant to go buy other meat. That maidservant was afraid, didn't know where to find, so she bought non-kosher meat. She couldn't find kosher meat, she bought non-kosher meat, and that was the meat that was in front of them. B'rov kiddushatam, they saw spiritually, nobody else saw it, but they saw spiritually that this meat wasn't kosher, and they didn't touch it. So on their way, they go to Fez. When they get to the king of Fez, he sees a pillar of fire on top of Rabbi Avraham Azulai. This is what the Chida writes. The Malchei Rabbanan writes that they saw a pillar of fire on Rabbi Avraham Azulai. They say this man didn't do anything. They acquitted him. That was the story that was written then. So this great. There's other stories about him. This is one story that's brought down. I thought interesting in the Sipur of the Chida. One of the great Mekubalim. They say that he was really responsible for bringing Kabbalah in Morocco. Was Rabbi Yaakov Mergi from the city of Tetuan, and he was the Rav of Rabbi Avraham ben Musa. Rabbi Yaakov Mergi was a big Gaon, and he didn't have a cent of money to his name. He was always poor. He needed some money, so he went all the way down to the city of Marrakesh, going to collect money. And he goes to the doorstep where Avraham Azulai was saying over a Zohar Kadosh, and Rabbi Yaakov Mergi said that's not pshat, and he told him pshat, and he says, no, who are you? Nobody could say such a pshat besides somebody like Rabbi Yaakov Mergi. He says, that's me. He says, oh wow, are you here? Money. Gave him a nice amount of money. On his way back, also he stops off in the city of Saleh. Robbers there, take away the money. There's mazal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted him to be poor or something. Took away the money. The city of Saleh, they said, we're going to make sure that he has more money. They gave him a lot of money. But they said, we're afraid something's going to happen to the money again. So they put it in the saddle of the donkey and they sewed it up. And finally, when they get to the city of Tetuan, there was dogs that came on the saddle. They took apart the saddle. Money fell out. Lost the money again. So it's like so what happened is that he was very depressed. He was mamash. He didn't know what to do with himself until a great person came to him, spoke 2 words in his mouth. We don't know what he told him, but Rabbi Yaakov Mergi calmed down and he said, "Okay, that's my Gzar-Din, fine." But it's the mazal. Sometimes that Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't want him to have money. That's what happened. Sometimes you ask yourself, why is this person poor? Why doesn't he go get a job? It's written in the Torah that there are people who are anim. That's the reality. There are people who don't have mazal, or maybe their mazal is not to have money. Maybe they have good mazal, but their mazal is not to have money. Either way, this Rav Azulai is found in Piskei Din that there is in Mishpat Tzedakah B'Yaakov in Fez. He's found in Piskei Din in Meknes. He's found he pops up many different areas as he was a great Torah leader originally from the city of Marrakesh, and then later on from the and he popped up in different areas. That was that was Rabbi Avraham Azulai. He was niftar in the round on Erev Shabbat Kodesh, a day before Tisha B'Av. So if we could remember to do Hilula Avi, the day before Tisha B'Av, Rabbi Avraham Azulai in the year 1741, he's niftar in the cemetery, and he's buried in the city of in the cemetery of Marrakesh. Buried in the cemetery of Marrakesh. His friend Rabbi Shlomo Amar was also known as a very great mikubal. He was very good friends. Once again, they learned together, and it's said that in Marrakesh they were known for their amazing analytics of Gemara. They want to say, you want Gemara, go to Marrakesh. That's what they used to say. You want Kabbalah, you go to Tafilalet. You want Psak Halacha, you go to the city of Fez. And I think the people of Meknes are going to kill me on that one. There's something about Meknes. So either way, Rabbi Mordechai Atiya writes in the Sefer Morderor, the city Ir Mehulala Em Be'Yisrael Yirat Shamayim Marrakesh. Says the great people Minorem B'Yirat Elohim Shelemim V'chen Rabbim B'Yedei Torah Machzikim Yadam Rama Be'avodat Ha'el U'B'Koach Ha'el Kulam Anashim Tzadikim ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם ביותר שאת יהיה תקיעת השם הטובה עליהם, הדברים עתיקים פלפולה חריפתא. And he says like this, וכל יודין יעידון יגידון, and they will all say, שאין תורה כתורת מרקש. There's no Torah like Torah Marrakesh. So this Rabbi Shlomo Amar was one of those who gave it that name that he was referring. The Mor Deror, this is a sefer on Gemara. It's referring to people like Rabbi Shlomo Amar that he once a shaliach from Eretz Yisrael came and said you have to figure out this Gemara. There's 7 different ways to learn it, and he learned from Rav Moshe Galanti, the great Rishon LeZion, Rav Moshe Galanti, 7 different ways to learn Gemara. 6 pirushim that you could push away, and the 7th is the true pirush. They gave it to Rabbi Shlomo Amar at this Gemara to figure out. He wrote on a piece of paper what he thought the pshat was. He put it on paper. They found the paper. That's how they found he was a great Rav. They told the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yitzchak Diluya, you have to make him a great Rav. And they gave him smicha. And from now on, he was known as a great Rav. I'm just going to give you one story of how things used to work in those days. Not like nowadays, people do whatever they want. The Goyim taxed the Jews like everywhere else in the world. They said you have to give a certain amount of taxes. And it fell on the hands of the wealthy people. They weren't happy about it. So this governor died finally in the year Zadon. His name was Zidan. And he died in the year Zadon. So people were all happy. But the taxes still continued, and it fell on the hands of the Gvirim. And they said, listen, we can't take all this tax. We're going to start taxing the Talmidei Chachamim in the city. Remember the educators, the people or Mu'alim, Shochatim, who didn't take money for their services. But that was an exchange. Instead of paying the tax, they served the community. That was the system how it worked. But these Gvirim said, no, Talmidei Chachamim, they also have to pay tax. 1,500 gold coins. So Rabbi Shlomo Amar didn't let this pass. He gathered all of the people in the city together. And he said, from now on, all the Talmidei Chachamim, he says, all those who are in Melechet HaKodesh, from now on, we're not offering any services. No shchita, no mohel, no melamed, no school, nothing. And it caused a big balagan. So they came to him and said, what's going on? There's nothing going there. Major strike. All the kids are at home. No Zoom school. Did they have Zoom over there? I don't even know if they had Zoom. So Rabbi Shlomo said, what's the problem? You want us to be like the Balabatim, so like the Balabatim, so that we're like everyone else, that's it. So there was one person called, say his name, because they writes written in the story over here in the cemetery of Marrakesh by Rabbi Shlomo Amar. His name was Yosef bin Attar. Could be even he was family with the famous bin Attar from Saleh, because they say that he had family that was close to the kingdom, and that was Rabbi Moshe bin Attar. I think that was the same family. It could be. Either way, he was the one who was responsible for the tax. So Rabbi Shlomo Amar said, this person, Yosef ben Attar, is going to be put in chirim, excommunication. And not only that, the whole community, because they tried to tax Talmidei Chachamim, is going to have to give 500 coins to the yeshiva. Fundraising in those days. And this Yosef ben Attar, 150 gold coins. So the community paid it, but this Yosef ben Attar didn't want to pay. He says, well, I'm not going to pay it. He died within 3 days. Not only that, Rabbi Shlomo Amar said, his kever, we're going to put stones on top. We're not going to bury him. We're going to throw stones on his kever to punish him because he embarrassed and he went after Talmidei Chachamim. The community couldn't see this, so they said, he's a person, he had connection to the Malchut. So they paid it off for him so he could go to burial. But he was so upset, he cursed his family, Ben Attar, that there shouldn't have any zera left in Marrakesh. Eventually, there's the governor. The governor put some type of a thing against him that he and his whole family, the whole family, that whole family had to leave Marrakesh. It was banished from Marrakesh from the government. So they saw because they saw how he was so strong in his leadership, they said when he was niftar, batel kvod Torah. When the Kavod Torah was niftar. So that's just a perspective, a little bit about how things worked and these great Chachamim. It wasn't always stories that, nice flowery stories about miracles. It was the stories of those days, but it was fascinating. That was Rabbi Avraham Azulai, Rabbi Shlomo Amar. He was niftar in the year 1738. On the date, I'll tell you exactly the date. It doesn't say over here the date. I thought I had it over here. He was niftar in the year 1738. Ye zichro baruch. Chazaku baruch.